from 9:10 to 9:20. Then the US president had to come in from 9:20 to 9:30. The official opening by the Dean Faculty of Engineering, supposed to be there from 9:30 to 9:50. Then our first keynote speech will be given by was going to be given by one of our alumni. However, due to some inconveniences, I think he is not yet here. So our first students panel was going to be from 10 to 10:30. But practically speaking, that's where we are, from 10 to 10:30. Now it's 10:11. I want all of us to be cautious about time when you are given opportunity to speak here. I think the moderator will do that because our time here is fast spent. And the guests we have, they have other other accomplishments elsewhere. So we shall give them the time they require, and we believe they will deliver exceedingly. So the first students panel from 10 to 10:30. Then our second keynote speech from our professor from Victoria University from 10:30 to 10 to 11 a.m. Then our third keynote speech from 11 to 11:30. Then projects discussions. I believe people from Victoria, from people from Kyambogo and people from Kabali are preparing our projects because we want to see that sustainability that we are talking about being put into action. We don't want to be here in the narrative of, oh, we are sustainable, we are inventing, yet on ground we have nothing. So I believe when that time comes, it will be time for us to showcase whatever we've been told. Then from noon to noon, shall have our fourth keynote speaker. Then from noon to 1, the fifth keynote speaker, that will be Engineer Andrew Mwezi. Then we shall have a session for lunch from 1 to 2 p.m. Then from 2 p.m. to 2:30. After now we have dealt with the health of the stomach. Now we shall go to mental health. Shall have a keynote speech from the CEO Mind Life. Then we shall have a panel discussion from Otic Foundation. So those ones who are passionate about AI and emerging technologies, you should not miss this. If you miss this, trust me, you will regret. Then after that, since we are here for sustainability, and we can all bear witness that with the way the climate is changing in Uganda these days, temperatures are like temperatures. Some people even say it shines during the night. So we shall have a session of tree planting to try to recover our planet. This will be from 3:20 to 4. And after that, the event will be officially done and we shall have time for networking and the closure of the event. Yes, so I hope we all follow suit when we are attending this event. So with that said and done, uh, apologies. My secretary has given me another keynote speaker that I happen to miss out. She's also an engineer. Ladies in engineering, can I have a wave? Ladies in engineering. All right, you're well represented. So feel contented. Don't say that. There was that narrative that The person that thank you very much. Remain very humble.
Ladies and gentlemen, kindly give the president of the Association of Chemical Engineering Students another round of applause for that. All right, a link is going to be displayed. When you use that link to register, the name goes directly to your certificate of attendance. So when it's displayed, kindly don't ignore it. Those ones who are just coming in, once again, welcome to the Pre-World Engineering Day celebrations, uh, which the president of the chemical engineers has just begun. Don't expect to just be bored because out of all he has said, their speech is fine, but we're also going to have project discussions among the many activities. Uh, there is going to be some networking, as you've had the tree planting, the sustainability. As I was saying, uh, the theme for this event this year is shaping our sustainable future through engineering. I believe when you look at that, it talks about how broad engineering can be. You know, at times we think it's all about what, but engineers are supposed to be the solvers of this problem. Our son, we should be thinking at that level. How are we going to, you know, how are we going to provide a way? It can be in the long run, it can be in the short run, but this is a question to engineers. Uh, anyway, since most of the people in these activities are not around and it is time we had allocated, allow me invite the Deputy Vice Chancellor uh, of Victoria University to deliver his speech about how education and workforce development has contributed in the shaping of the future of engineering. Engineer, sir, you're most welcome. Kindly give him a round of applause.
Right. Good morning, everyone. Um, Thank you, ACES, for inviting me this morning, and I'm delighted to be here. It's always a joy for me to talk to young people, especially those who are in engineering. Engineers are a special group of people, and we are meant to solve problems. Um, about 30 years ago, I was exactly where you are. I have just started my first degree. Uh, and then 4 years later, when I left, I had several hopes and aspirations as a young process engineer who wanted to do a lot. Things didn't go as planned. I went back to school to do a master's because I always wanted to be a corrosion engineer. So I went back to school. I did a master's in chemical metallurgy and mineral processing. hoping to go into the oil and gas industry and solve all the corrosion problems they had. Unfortunately, I didn't go in that direction. Rather, fate took me in another direction, where I found myself actually solving environmental problems. Of course, corrosion is also part of those problems. And so when I talk to young people about engineering, it's always exciting for me because it's not just about coming to the university and learning theory and going out there looking for just any job that pays. No, engineers are supposed to solve problems, and that's why I want to talk about some of the issues. And my speech is going to take a slightly different direction. I want to charge us and I want to challenge us to go from here and become problem solvers. All protocols observed. Once again, good morning to all of you, every esteemed guest present here. There are faculty members who are present. I say good morning to you, fellow engineers and members of the Association of Chemical Engineering Students here at Kyambogo. It's a honor and it's principles of that today. It is still best the public information shaping some sustainable association of student profound responsibility that will as engineers found responsibility it's very nice stitching to those two. I just quite sorry. It's a seven kissers, the shady kiss on the flippers and also a fixed so things culture specializing Joshua says to my substance. So then transaction that some responsibilities is not even steps so nice positions to those change listen to reading listen to genes seven kissers which is very flippers and also a so for better future. And engineering is the bridge connects the goals to reality. As much as we have so many things we think we can achieve, and as the SDGs tell us, engineering is actually what brings the whole thing together. So as engineers, we have a great role to play. Sustainability, we often say, is no longer a choice. It's a necessity. As chemical engineers and engineers generally, we are uniquely positioned to lead this charge. Our discipline sits at the intersection of chemistry, biology, physics, and mathematics, enabling us to design processes and products that are efficient, eco-friendly, and economically viable. Whether it's developing biodegradable materials, as we have seen a lot of progress in that field today, or optimizing water treatment systems to ensure that we have safe drinking water, or creating cleaner energy sources. Chemical engineering in particular is pivotal to building a sustainable future. So the future you and I anticipate, you have a big role to play in that particular future. Now, there's a challenge before us. And the challenge is that of sustainability in a world where we have very finite resources. Uganda, like many developing nations, faces significant challenges. And some of these challenges include access to clean water, sustainable energy production, waste management, climate resilience, and climate adaptation. I call them challenges. Engineers see them as opportunities to innovate and opportunities to provide solutions. As the global population grows, so does the demand for food, energy, and infrastructure grows. Yet we must achieve this without compromising the well-being of future generations. A terminology we hear all the time, and it's the foundation of what we call sustainable development. This paradox is the essence of sustainable engineering, creating solutions that meet today's need without jeopardizing tomorrow's resources. Consider, for example, or for instance, the issue of waste management and pollution. Chemical engineers can play a crucial role in developing advanced recycling techniques, biodegradable materials, and industrial processes that minimize harmful emissions. Similarly, the energy crisis is another pressing concern today, and our future depends on moving away from fossil fuels towards cleaner, renewable energy resources such as solar, wind, and biofuel. Uganda, it's closer to producing its first oil, maybe in a couple of years, in 2, 3 years from now. And that project, as you know, the oil and gas project, the East African gas pipeline, and the development in Tilanga and Kingfisher have seen a lot of resistance. In fact, they found it difficult even accessing money because before now, or up until now, Western countries have put an embargo on fossil fuel, although that is going to start changing with Donald Trump back to power. But then there's a huge drive towards sustainability. And this drive towards sustainability, it's to provide cleaner energy and look at alternative sources. Chemical engineers, electrical, mechanical, all the engineers are at the forefront of these innovations, ensuring that energy solutions are going to be accessible to everyone, is going to be affordable, and it's also going to be sustainable. Innovation is needed, and innovation is a lifeblood of engineering. It is through innovation that we can reimagine traditional processes and create solutions that are not just effective, but also are sustainable. Consider, for example, the advancement in carbon capture and storage technologies. These innovations are helping industries in the West to reduce their carbon footprint, turning what was once a waste product into valuable resources. But innovation doesn't always mean inventing new things entirely. Sometimes it's about improving what is already existing. For instance, in chemical engineering, we have what we call process intensification, where we make processes more efficient by reducing energy consumption, waste generation, and raw material usage. Process intensification is a powerful tool for sustainability. By rethinking how we design and how we operate industrial processes, we can achieve more with less, align our work with principles of what we refer to as the circular economy. In today's world, we are moving towards what we call zero waste economy. I lived my life and worked for a long time in the United Kingdom, and I championed a lot of projects about zero waste economy. In that part of the world, nothing is waste. I spent a few years working in the water industry, and every time somebody at home flushes the toilet, my company is happier because they give us waste that we convert to biogas, and that biogas we use to generate electricity. And the solids that drop out of the process of treating that waste, we sell it back to farmers as manure for growing agricultural products. So at the end of the day, there is no waste. It's a zero waste economy. And that is the target. And that is where we're going. And engineers, particularly chemical engineers, process engineers, have a role to play. Education today has very, very specific role to play when it comes to developing the future engineers of tomorrow. Development in the workforce and training has a very special role to play. We've seen a lot of innovation happening all over the world. And a lot of these innovations are coming out of universities. They are coming out of research centers. And here you are, a student, within the walls of Kyambogo University or Victoria or Kabale or wherever you're coming from. You have a role to play. You have to think about the problems that Uganda is facing. And as an engineer, engineers are made or supposed to come up with solutions. I'm going to give you some global examples of what students like you have done to solve problems. There's what we call fast parties. We're a group of students and scientists at University of Texas at Austin in the US. And this enzyme breaks down plastics. We've heard about microplastics. The amount of microplastic in our environment today is huge. It's massive. It's threatening. In fact, the recent research had shown that microplastic are being seen in the blood vessels of human beings. And we take a lot of these microplastics. As you drink water from the bottle, there are microplastics in it. The water sources, because of the plastic waste we dispose, there are microplastics in it. The lake has microplastics, and these things are accumulating in the system. So this group of students and scientists came together and they have developed an enzyme that breaks up and destroys microplastics in days rather than in decades. Now, that is huge engineering. That is what education brings to the table when it comes to looking for solution for the future. And this was recent. This was in 2002. Also in 2003, a group of chemical engineers from Delft University of Technology in Netherlands developed what they call concrete that is self-healing. A concrete that is embedded with bacteria. And when there is a crack in the concrete, what it does is that the bacteria produces limestone that seals off the crack. So concrete that is self-healing, meaning that you don't find cracks in buildings anymore. Now, that was just 2 years ago at Delft University of Technology. Also, we have what we call Red Materials, a company founded by former Tesla engineer, developed a chemical process to recover lithium, nickel, and cobalt from EV batteries. There's a lot of talk about electric cars, the Teslas, the Nissan Leaf, and all of these. They use electric batteries, lithium-ion batteries. Now they have developed processes that allow them to recycle this. There's also recently at Cambridge University in the UK, engineers like yourself developed a new process that mimics plant photosynthesis, meaning that we can convert sunlight, water, and CO2 into liquid fuel like ethanol, basically using an artificial process. This is going to change a lot of things. These were students. Also, MIT engineers developed something called graphene oxide membrane that allows you to cost effectively clean up water, no matter how dirty it is. These are students like you. These are engineers like all of us. Also in the UK and in the US, we have seen people now producing meat from the lab. So rather than killing cows and goats and different animals, you synthesize them from the lab. And we've seen that happen. And these are chemical engineers who are changing things. You might think, you're talking about US, you're talking about Europe. These are far places, but let me come home to Africa. Just across the border here in Kenya, they have developed a system that recycles plastic waste into fuel. So an engineer called Nzambi Mate, he's now an innovator. He founded a company called Jeng Makers, developed a process to convert plastic waste into durable building blocks that are 5 times stronger than concrete. That is what chemical engineers can do. Also in South Africa in 2021, we have the first waste to biofuel plant. It's called a company called Biomass Energy Solution, started up by an engineering graduate like some of you are already. And also in Namibia, just 2 years ago, we got what we call 3D printed houses from desert sand. So houses can be printed using 3D. Now in Namibia, thanks to an engineer like yourself. Here in Uganda, a company called Sanitation Africa, it's a Ugandan startup, has developed a method to convert human physics into briquettes that burns cleaner than coal in a world of sustainability. Now, this is what education is offering and bringing to the table when we talk about engineering, sustainable future. In South Africa, they are now producing biofuel from Jetrofa. And also in Nigeria, we are seeing AI-powered waste sorting for recycling. A young, smart engineer who have started a company called Trash Coin, developed an AI-powered chemical sorting system that sorts waste without any human intervention. Now, these are the things we're talking about. Engineers bring solution. Excuse me. And that is what I come today to challenge you. You're studying chemical engineering, process engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering. What solution are you bringing to the problems that confront us here in Uganda? A lot of the time, I admire a lot the educational system in China. They learned from the West, from the British, from the Americans, but they become better in educating their kids. And today in Uganda, you hear about competency-based curriculum, which was introduced in the lower secondary, and it is now planned to move it up to the higher secondary. But the Chinese are well advanced, and these guys solve problems. They look at problems and they find solutions to it. I often tell my students, the way your grandmother and great grandmother peeled matoki is the same way it's still done today. Mechanical engineers, what are you doing? Mechatronics engineers, what are you doing? We need to find new solution. In China, they would have found a much more advanced solution to this. For those of you in the final year doing your project, don't just go and sit down and write a review. Find a solution to problems. As I round up, as we innovate, we must also remember our ethical responsibility. Engineering is not just technical excellence, it's about making decisions that benefit the society and the planet. We must ask ourselves, are our solutions inclusive? Do they consider the needs of the marginalized communities? Are we minimizing harm to the environment? For example, the transition to renewable energy is essential, but it must be done thoughtfully. The production of solar panels and batteries rely on rare earth metals, the extraction of which have significant environmental and social impact. As engineers, we must try to develop technologies that are not only sustainable in their operation, but also the entire life cycle of those products, from raw material extraction to end of life. No single discipline can tackle the complex challenge of sustainability. And that's why everyone is here and everyone has been invited. Engineers, electrical, IT engineers, computer engineers, software engineers, It takes collaboration sometimes to solve this problem. Collaboration is key. Chemical engineers must work alongside civil engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, as well as even policymakers and economists and social scientists to create holistic solutions. Interdisciplinary approach allows us to address problems from multiple angles, ensuring that our solutions are robust and also very resilient. Take, for instance, the challenge with plastic waste. Chemical engineers can develop new biodegradable polymers, but without the involvement of policymakers to regulate, youth plastic educators to raise public awareness, our efforts may fall short. Collaboration amplifies our impact, enabling us to create systemic changes. Education has a role to play. Student, you are future of engineering. Your education is not just about acquiring all the technical skills, it's also about developing a mindset of curiosity, of creativity, and of responsibility. Embrace every opportunity to learn, experiment, and innovate. Seek out mentors who can guide you, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. Remember, the most groundbreaking innovation often come from questioning assumptions and thinking outside of the box. As you progress in your career, strive to be a lifelong learner. The field of engineering is constantly evolving, and staying ahead requires a commitment to continuous improvement. I have been in the field for 30 years plus now, but I still read as though I'm writing an exam because a lot of things are changing and we need to keep abreast with the latest technology, with the latest processes. Let me round up by making a call for action. As we celebrate today, the Pre-World Engineering Day celebration, let us commit ourselves to the principle of sustainability. Let us use our skill, our knowledge, and passion to create a world that is not only technologically advanced, but also equitable and sustainable. Each of us have a role to play, whether it's through designing greener processes, advocating for policy change, or monitoring the or mentoring rather the next generation of engineers. In the world of the great engineer and inventor Nikola Tesla, the present is theirs. The future for which I really work is mine. Let us work together to ensure that the future we create is one that we are proud of, a future where engineering is synonymous with sustainability, with innovation, and with hope. In closing, I want to leave you with a challenge. As you leave this celebration, think about one way you can contribute to shaping our sustainable future through engineering. It will be a research project. It could be anything. It could be a community initiative or even a small change in your daily habits. Remember, every action counts, and together we can engineer a better world. Thank you, and I wish you all the productive and inspiring Pre-World Engineering Day celebration. Let us go forth and shape our sustainable future through engineering. Thank you very much.
Wow. I believe you should give the professor another round of applause. Thank you very much, sir, for those wonderful words. I also really never knew how important chemical engineers can be in in the sustainability, but I've learned something new. I used to think it's all about the environmental engineers, the civil engineers, the electrical engineers, the renewable energy, but it seems they also have a key role to play. So, chemical engineers, hopefully you've had. Uh, as he has said, think about that one way you can contribute to changing the sustainability. You understand? Like that one way, you can make it your project. Thank you very much once again. Uh, Amidst us, we have new guests. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Kavala University. They've, that's not enough. These guys have really traveled far. Kavala University, you're most welcome. Now, let me recognize Mr. Baino Mugisha Jonah from Kavala University. Kindly wave to the crowd. Mr. Kabagambe Edward, you're also most welcome. Kindly wave to the crowd wherever you are. And the President, Kavala University Engineering Society, Mr. Rukundo, Honorable Rukundo Timothy, kindly wave to the crowd. Mr. President, you're most welcome. Welcome to Kyambogo University. Uh, Without wasting time, before actually, that is the registration link that I was talking about. You should just copy it and register. Your name will go directly to the certificate of attendance, and I believe you might need it sometime because you've attended. And what do you have to show for it? So kindly register. That is the link. Once again, those who really need to use the places of convenience, you can use this exit or the other exit, and you see an entrance. You follow it, and you go to either the extreme left or the extreme right. So at this point in time, allow me invite the former US President, His Excellency Sejungo Rodney, to kindly come and give us a word. Honorable, you're most welcome. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sejungoredni Jonathan. I'm a past president of the Kyambogo University Engineering Society. I served under the Engineering Society in the year 2023. Those are about 2 terms back. I handed over to the person who handed over to the current president. I'm very glad to see all of you here. Yeah. It's a very wonderful topic that we're going to share about today. That is sustainability. A second. Shaping our sustainable future through engineering. And I'm very glad for the previous speaker because you've shared pertinent issues. You've helped to mold the eyes, changing the mindset of the students to ensure that they get their mind set on where their opportunities, to encourage them and believe in them that they can actually have an impact on the environment. I bring greetings from the president I handed over to. He sent his apologies. He could not make it today, but he sends his greetings. And also from the alumni. I'm here to speak on behalf of the alumni of the Kyambogo University Engineering Society. They are behind you, and just know that eventually we are going to do something that will move you and ensure that we motivate the current generation of students to know that there are a lot of opportunities out there. I currently work for a company called Bio Veritas Uganda Limited. It does inspections, certifications, and many other projects in Uganda. I work as an additive operator at a fuel depot in that side of Kauku, in a place called Bujiri. So that is a little about me, but that is not what brought us here. We are all here to learn about sustainability, right? Yeah. The first thing we need to know about sustainability is actually its definition. In summary, they summarize sustainability as sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. which implies that there is an issue of the past, now, and the future. Every action that you wake up and you do right now, it is supposed to be geared towards ensuring that you can sustain yourself right now and to ensure that the future generations can also be sustained. So, putting all of these things into consideration, sustainability became a very important thing to consider. The world had just jumped into the fourth industrial revolution of automation, but shortly afterwards, they realized that there was a more pertinent issue. I would like to tell you a story before we proceed. Imagine you're like a child and you're going to school, let me say at campus, and every time you need extra pocket money, your parents have provided for you pocket money, but you have that rich auntie that you always go for extra pocket money. Yeah, you can borrow from big amounts to supplement your survival. Now, I would like to relate this rich auntie to Mother Nature. Every time we do an action without considering the consequences carefully, it means that we are putting at risk Mother Nature. There are many actions that we as human beings do unknowingly. Let me say, even when you wake up in the morning, when you decide to put on that percolator to boil water, when you decide to go under that shower and you bathe, there is a certain impact that you put upon the environment. So Mother Nature is like that rich auntie from whom you borrow from. And for us, it's worse that we assume that Mother Nature has infinite resources, like we can keep on taking, keep on taking. But with time, you come to realize that there is an impact that keeps on occurring. Ever since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the impact on the environment exacerbated so much that many species started dying. We are up to 30% of the species that were available before the Industrial Revolution were lost due to unsustainable practices. So, the fourth Industrial Revolution was quickly taken over, although it has not yet been completed. It was quickly taken over by a fifth Industrial Revolution that focuses on combining sustainable practices, human nature, machine learning, to ensure that we come up with solutions or projects or everything that supports the environment, that ensures that we can sustain ourselves right now and the future. A lot of things have happened, but the thing about human nature is that we keep on learning and we adjust. Well, the past does not look very well, but I'm here to tell you that there is hope. I would like to first of all educate us about a few principles that we need to know. Um, these things of issues of the world ending have been coming up in earlier. So people started doing calculations to find out how can we calculate the impact of every action. That when you wake up and you decide that I'm going to shower, what is the impact of that water that I'm going to pour down the drain? Every time I decide to cut the lawn, I decide to uh, even just breathing. How much do I calculate that impact? And a formula was made, a linear formula, and it's called the IPAT formula. And this IPAT formula, I hope some of you are writing, those who are interested. It calculates the total impact by focusing on three major attributes that contribute to it. That is population, affluence, and technology. Population is clear. Affluence talks about the consumption. Yeah. Whenever you eat meat, or you make a decision to eat either beans or meat, they both have different impacts on the environment. So your consumption also has impact. As you walk on this earth, there is a certain amount of water that you take every day, and yet we know that there are limited freshwater sources, and then they also have a recharge rate. So if a time reaches that the recharge rate of these water sources that we are using is overcome by the rate of our consumption, we reach a time when also the reserves that we have been lost. So there was this man in the past, and obviously, okay, I think the formula is clear. The third part is technology. We have talked about population, consumption, and then technology, or consumption or affluence and technology. We're going to talk about this part later. But now there was this man called Malthusian who came up with a theory that he gauged at the rate at which people were consuming food in a certain area, that with time would land into a drought. It was around the mid 20th century. But judging by the fact that we are still here, it means that his predictions did not come to pass. What does that mean? Every time that the world is pushed to the brink of trouble, there are signs that start to show. Let me say food prices increasing, global warming, and this pushes people to start coming up with solutions to combat that issue. Um, the major complaint in regards to the Malthusian theory is that consumption would increase much faster uh, in comparison to production. Yeah, production of food can only increase in those who have done algebra. There is exponential increment, which implies that something increases at a greater amount every time. Or there is also linear increment, whereby it increases at a steady pace. So if you have production increasing at a steady pace, like today you multiply times 2, even next time times 2 times 2, like that. Oh no, not times 2, sorry, plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, yeah. And then you'd have to provide for a population that increases in multiples. A time reaches when the consumption is greater than what? The production. So that is against sustainability. So every time, now this is where I want us to pay attention. Every time we approach that peak, or when we are about to reach the carrying capacity of whatever resource that we are using, then human nature starts to correct its actions to ensure that everything that is necessary is provided for. So with time, that Malthusian theory did not come to pass. This is the reason why. In the past, there used to be high birth rates and high death rates. You'd find a parent giving birth to 10 children, 15 children. But at the same time, you'd find like 9 or 10 of those children are dying due to diseases and all. But with time, they started improving on the medicine and all the things that help to supply the students, all the children. And with time, the death rates kept on reducing. This brought about an increment in population, since now the birth rates were much higher. Now, this is a description of the developed countries. Yeah. When they got good medical services, their population started increasing so fast, to an extent that they realized that the population was too great than they could handle. That is when things like family planning services started coming in to ensure that now this increment in population starts reducing. But there is something even greater that brings about reduction in birth rates, and that is education. Every time we see the increment of ladies within this hall, for example, as you can see the ratio currently, I could say that the ratio is 10 to 1 of man to woman in this hall. But the more the ladies keep on increasing, it implies that the time at which they give birth is much higher. Let me say earlier, maybe 50 years back, a girl would give birth at an average age of about 15 to 14 years. But now, due to education, you find that this same girl is going to give birth at around 25 to 30 years, which implies that the fertility of this one lady or one girl keeps on reducing. So the population drops by reducing of the birth rate. So the start, we had very high birth rates and death rates. Then the death rates reduced due to increase in technology and medicine, obviously. Population increases. Then people start now trying to bring in sustainable solutions to ensure that birth rates reduce. Then birth rates follow the death rates until now they are at the same level. And now we have low birth rates and low death rates. So the world keeps on going through this system to ensure that it keeps sustainable. Yeah, so I guess we understand generally what this is about. Um, that is how population varies, and with when you look at at a developed country, those phases I've told you about, you can find when a developed country is already in that end phase, whereby there are low birth rates and low death rates. While now a developing country like Uganda could be like in that second phase, whereby um, there is increase in birth rates and lower death rates, which implies that the population is climbing. For example, you might find when the population of Uganda after independence was 7 million, but now we are approaching 50 million, so which implies that exponential growth. But it won't always be like that, because even right now we have started incorporating all these technologies. All these things that I'm talking about, you have seen them before, and they bring about the fact that we shall always adapt in regards to sustainability. Now, let me make the problem more clear. The previous speaker has talked about most of the solutions, so I want us to have our eyes opened on many of the sectors where we could bring about solutions. The first solution is the energy sector. Now, the energy sector, we all know that the primary source of energy to this world is the sun. Every time the sun radiates onto the earth, energy is absorbed by the sun, but not that same amount of energy that is incident onto the earth goes back into the atmosphere. So every time we live on this earth, that energy that is absorbed by the sun keeps on uh, keeps all the processes of this world running. For example, maybe the first time the sun hit the earth, there was nothing, but then with time, uh, we see nature coming into place. We see grass, and eventually the earth keeps on utilizing this energy from the sun to keep on growing, to keep on growing, to keep on growing. That now we have very many ecosystems. As we know, as who have known some science, that energy is neither uh, lost or gained or destroyed, but it is transformed from one form to the other. So that energy that comes from the sun has to go somewhere, because it has been radiating the earth for a very long time. So accountability for that sun will ensure that it makes us realize that this energy keeps on coming to us, and we utilize it for different purposes. So having the sun as the primary energy source, it means that there are very many opportunities for tapping into it. So, talking about energy further, there is a concept that I want to introduce to our mind. That is energy invested on energy returned. That is EIOER. No, energy returned on energy invested. That is EROEI. Energy returned on energy invested. What does this mean? Um, for every process, for every process to create energy, for example, fossil fuels, yeah, there is energy we input to ensure that we get out this energy source. For example, when you talk about hydroelectric power, yeah, to ensure that we can get the gigawatts of electricity that we use within the nation, there is energy that we invest, that we get out some energy. Yeah, I hope that concept is clear. Now, if we are to look at to, for an energy source to be very efficient, the energy returned on the energy invested has to be greater than one. You get? What does that mean? In case, let me say you invest 2,000 watts to get 3,000 watts of energy. Yeah. The energy returned on the energy invested will be the 3,000 watts that have come out of the energy you've invested, divide by the 2,000 watts to get something like 1.5, which is greater than 1. If the case was reversed, that we invested 3,000 watts and we got 2,000 back, the ratio would reduce to something like 0.6, which implies that you're investing so much energy to get out little energy, which means that that is a loss for those who do economy. So every energy solution that we design for all those who are engineering, you have to ensure that the energy returned on the energy invested is greater than 1. I'll give an example. When they had just discovered fossil fuel, they would invest energy equivalent to 1 barrel, and they would get back 100 barrels worth of energy in fuel. That is fossil fuel. So you can realize that the energy returned through fossil fuel was 100 times the energy invested. That is why when they discovered this energy, they went all the way and exploited and exploited and exploited, because it was so affordable, so affordable. And in those days, you would find an oil depot on the ground like this. Like, you would literally just put a pipe and you start extracting. But with time, those oil reserves that were on top were depleted. What does that mean? They had to go further in the ground. The processes that are required to go deep into the ground to get out all this oil and all this became more expensive. But due to the fact that the world had developed, though it became affordable because the need for the energy was higher. For example, I would like to give an example here. When we had started using fuel, maybe the prices were or at about 2,000. But every time they increase the fuel by like slightly, like 500 shillings, it means that the amount of money that they get back can enable them to actually multiply themselves, multiply their earnings, to make them even be more capable to do the more intensive fuel recovery practices. That is why now you can find oil wells that are even 30 meters deep, but they are going deep within to get them because of that. But still, even with all of that, fuel is still fossil fuels are still the ones that give the highest energy return on energy invested. I think currently they're at about 15, but they are still dropping because of the cost of getting oil from within. You find that things like hydroelectric power are at around 9. Solar power could be like at around 3. I'm talking about energy return on energy invested, that ratio. And then the one that I wanted to talk about the most are biofuels that are at a whopping 1.3. Now, biofuels are an emerging technology, and people are very excited about them. But I'm here to be a decampaigner of such technology. Let me explain how they extract biofuels. Biofuels are gotten by, you plant, for example, wheat. Wheat has a high calorific value. You put in water, you put in, they receive sunshine and all for a long time. And then afterwards, you get the plants that you've planted. You put them into an incinerator. And the energy that comes from burning those biofuels is used to produce electricity. Now you can imagine by the time you go through all that process, the energy returned on energy invested is just 1.3. Yes, there is a gain, right? So it's supposed to be something good. But we know that the natural processes that that are meant to be, in that, let me say, when you've grown wheat, what is expected is that it is supposed to go back into the ground and it decays to provide manure and also to return all the resources, maybe say nitrogen, because nitrogen is a big part of the plant tissue, to go back into the soil to work as fertilizer for the coming plants. Now, these plants that would have gone back, that you've invested your nitrogen to create, are now burnt and only carbon is left. And the energy required to break nitrogen back into the ground is too much. So you look at all of these things and you wonder, is it really worth it? And to make matters worse, biofuels have a negative impact on the availability of food. How is this? In two ways. The first way, when you plant biofuels, you get more money because someone will realize that I am guaranteed of getting market for my wheat. Why don't I grow wheat that they are going to use as biofuel? And you buy it and you plant it. Now, instead of someone planting soya beans, planting beans, planting what, they'll focus on wheat. And in a short while, we shall have a mono what? whatever. You get the point. So imagine the whole Uganda producing wheat. Where shall we get the rice from? Where shall we get the beans from? This will imply that certain food sources will have a shortage, which will bring about starvation or very high food prices. So that is why when we are doing sustainability, we have to do a very, very thorough impact analysis. I think I've made it a bit clear. There are other things to consider about energy. You can look at solar panels. Solar panels, um, okay, due to matters of time, I won't talk about them so much. But every project that we design, we have to put all of these things into consideration to ensure that we come up with sustainable products that can ensure that we reach that desired goal. The second thing I'll talk about is water. You see, we are surrounded with a lot of water. We have a lot of water in the oceans. We have a lot of water, yes, majorly in the seas. But not all that water is available for us for consumption. And to make matters worse, if you're to get a percentage of freshwater sources, most of the freshwater sources are found in the edges of the earth. That is Antarctica and the Arctic Circle, where the water is stored in ice blocks. So it implies that the limited amount of fresh water sources mean that we have to watch out for how we utilize our water. How do we use water? You see, as I would like to go a little bit back into energy. Yeah. For example, let me use this watch as an illustration. There is intrinsic energy in the production of this watch, and that is the energy that was consumed to ensure that this watch is compiled from getting all the metal, the paint, and all other items that are, and the plastics that is within this watch. So you can get the total amount of energy consumed in producing this watch and you put it somewhere. You get that, right? So in the same way, there is also intrinsic water that is stored within everything that is produced. Even within this watch, there is an amount of fresh water that was utilized to ensure that this watch is produced. Now, why is this a necessary thing to know about? Every time we purchase something, for example, a washing machine to make our life easier, all these equipment have different water utilization. Every time we buy, okay, every time you decide to have a 2-hour long shower instead of 1 or 5 minutes, there is an increment in the water. So you as a person, you are working with over 50 liters of water. You can find when the consumption of this person is about 70 liters, then the consumption of the other person is about 30 liters. So in the long run, this unsustainable use of water brings us back to something similar to the Malthusian theory. Yeah, and it is something that is called a J curve. Now, a J curve talks about a population. Okay, it talks about consumption of something. There is a carrying capacity for everything, and even water as a resource has a carrying capacity. For example, all the water resources in Uganda, they have a certain recharge rate that, for example, we have about maybe 50 kiloliters produced per day in the whole country. This is just an example. It's not an accurate figure. So imagine that the entire population of Uganda uses about 60 kiloliters, yeah, of water, yeah. It implies that within a short while, we shall keep on reducing the amount of water until it reduces, and then it disappears. This has happened in very many in some countries. I'll give an example of Russia. Russia had a sea called the Aral Sea, and it was very huge, even bigger than Lake Victoria. But when they discovered certain technologies that included irrigation, yeah, they diverted water from the rivers that were supplying into the Aral Sea, and with time, due to this unsustainable water use, the Aral Sea kept on reducing, until right now it is a desert. Now you can imagine all the ecosystems that were present within that water that was in the RLC, all of them dead, gone. Whether they were plants, whether they were animals, they're all gone right now due to this unsustainable use. So such things bring about this question: is it really worth it to exchange irrigation for all these ecosystems? Yeah. So this water usage, we have to watch out for it. So that is why it is very important. Yeah. It is very important to know everything that you do, just so that in every action that you do, there is water usage. Know the usage that you're using, and from today, do everything knowing that you have impact. As the previous speaker concluded, I would also like to conclude in the same way that every small action that you do has an impact on the environment. Look for what is that resource that you're using through what you're doing and see, is this really sustainable? Will this take us to the future? I'd like to conclude my submission on sustainability, and I'd like to make a slight communication in regards to the event. I would like to commend the QS executive, that is now 2024-2025, for this great event. And the topic that it chose is very good, and it is something that all the people in this room should consider. And I commend the great work that you're doing. Keep up the fire, and I'm sure that it is going to be a fruitful term of service. I say in my regards to Mr. President, I saw him passing by, and his executive plus the ASES and all other associations present, delegates, other universities, and Kyambogo University body. I greet you all.
Thank you very much, our former President Chewes. Kindly give him another round of applause. Guys, it's not easy. We understand you're tired. We are going to work on that. Uh, I think you've heard what he has been talking about. Like, it actually triggered and reminded me of some project in Indonesia. Now, for them, how they do their renewable energy, their water, they actually use reservoirs for most of them. So what they do, they realize that their land, they mostly have islands. So what they do is they have what they call floating solar panels. So they'll get reservoirs and put floating solar panels. Now, what does this help? It solves two problems. It prevents a lot of water from evaporating from their reservoirs, and at the same time, they use these solar panels to generate electricity. I think that is how engineers are supposed to think. That is how you're supposed to tune your thought process. Anyway, thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful speech. Uh, I would like to first call for a group photo with the Deputy Vice Chancellor before he leaves. So I think two representatives, one from, let's say, Kabale University, one from Kyambogo, just here, 1 minute, before I invite the students panel. Uh, so kindly, let's have the group photo. All right. At this point in time, allow me invite the members who are supposed to participate in the students panel, and the speaker of ACES, who is going to be our moderator for that. He's going to be asking the panel questions. So the representatives from the different universities. So I've been corrected. He's going to invite the students who are going to participate in that. You want to moderate it? Okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. MC. Our invited guests, the guest speakers, our guests from the other universities, Kabale University, Victoria University, and then the student body, Kyambogo University. All protocol observed. A good morning to you all. Once again, I welcome you all to today's celebration of the Pre-World Engineers Day. And the purpose of this event is to celebrate the achievements and the progress made by all the engineers around the world. So please help me and turn to your neighbor. Thank them for being smart. Thank them for taking aside their time to be here with us today. All right. So speaking to you is Mutebi Ethan Tubbs, and I'm the speaker for the Association of Chemical Engineering Students, Kyambogo. So any chemical engineering students around? All right, thank you. So with us today, we are going to have a panel of 4 people from the universities that we invited. And ladies and gentlemen, the first person on our panel is our very own, our brother here from Kyambogo University, pursuing a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, currently a year 3 student. This person, he did a diploma in mechanical engineering. So before I invite him, Victoria University students, please, you're invited outside for a quick photo, and then we proceed. So Victoria University students, please, a group photo outside. So the person I'm going to invite, he did a diploma in mechanical engineering. He didn't stop there. He went on and did another diploma in technical teacher education. And as we speak right now, he's here pursuing a degree in mechanical engineering. So ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Mr. Kato Robert Sechibule. So next on our panel, we have our brother from Kabale University. He's currently doing electrical engineering and is a 3rd-year student. And he happens to be the vice president of the Kabale Engineering Students Society, known as KESS. So please join me as we welcome Mr. Billy Gumire. So as we wait for the Victoria University students to join us, the next person on our panel, a student from Victoria University, and he is from the Faculty of Science and Technology, currently pursuing a degree in software engineering. So brothers and sisters, friends, engineering students, our guests, please join me as we welcome Mr. Martin Turiagenda. Yes, thank you. And then finally, lastly but not least, our final member of our panel is also a student from Victoria University, pursuing course in computer science. And ladies and gentlemen, he's a 1st-year student. So let this be an inspiration to all the year 1 students around here. So please join me as we welcome Mr. Higenyi Tobias Thomas. So once again, to my panelists, I thank you all for honoring the invitation to join us today. So as we start off our panel, we are going to start with Mr. Kato Robert Sechibule. So please, Mr. Robert, I hope you're doing well. Can you please introduce yourself and share your background in mechanical engineering?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name's Kato Robert Sechibule, a mechanical student in year 3. I started my mechanical journey way back in 2019 with a national diploma in mechanical engineering. Thereafter, I pushed further to a diploma in technical teacher education from Nakawa Vocational Institute. I later joined Kyambogo University for my bachelor's degree in mechanical and manufacturing engineering. However, I picked passion in renewable energy. That was around 2023 after experiencing some complexities in COVID-19. So I have a lot of passion in renewable. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kato Robert. So moving on, what does sustainable engineering mean to you, particularly in your field of mechanical engineering? Can you highlight any?
So sustainable engineering, basically I'll break that statement into terminologies. That is sustainability and engineering. Everyone has his own aspect how they handle sustainability. Maybe at home, at workplace, or at school. So sustainability, we look at how you